Welcome to Community Church Unitarian Universalist. I am your worship associate, Reverend Jacqueline Luck, and it is a joy to be with you here today. Community Church is a progressive, open-minded, and inclusive religious community. We welcome all who are on a spiritual search for truth and meaning. Ours is a faith in action as we do the work of social justice and elevate compassion in our quest to live ethically, recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every being. Please look to your weekly email, that's Community Matters. If you haven't signed up for an email, we're happy to put you on the list, whether you're a member or not. We are delighted to welcome today my friend, Reverend Dr. Julien Kain. Have to practice that. We were in seminary together. Neither of us was a reverend in those days. Let's see. So I hate reading from the phone, especially with my familial tremor. Don't ever worry about me. I'm fine. I'm just like everybody else in my family. I just shake a lot. So the Reverend Dr. Julien Kain of Lafayette, Louisiana, has been a UU minister since 2001, serving congregations in Pensacola, Florida, where she is recognized as a minister emerita after 12 years, 2006 to 2018. She's also served congregations in Northern and Southern California, and most recently, Winchester, Virginia. She is currently the affiliated community minister with the UU Fellowship of Lafayette, and she has a private practice named Creative Endeavor Counseling, a new ministry of spiritual growth through making art. This morning we have a few announcements, so I would, I should say welcome, Julien. Yeah, we're glad she's here. We have a few announcements. In particular, I wanted to ask Sean to come up and give us an update on the stewardship campaign. Oh, he's still writing? You want me to call someone else? Okay. That's all right.
Hi, everybody. Sorry for the delay. I have a prop on stage with me today, our progress meter on the pledge drive. And that's because today is the last Sunday of our annual pledge drive. The pledge drive ends in a couple of days on October 15th. That doesn't mean that giving and pledging have to stop after that, but that'll be sort of the end of our efforts to drum up pledges for this next year. So our pledge total today is just over $91,500, as you can see here on the chart. And we are grateful for everybody who's given their pledge so far and thought about their commitment to the church for the next year. As you can see on our progress meter, we still have a little bit of ground to cover, so we need to make about $19,000 more to achieve our goal. So with that in mind, if you haven't done your pledge yet, it's still very welcome, and you can do that through me. We put the pledge form in today's order of service that should be in your hands. You can do it online. There are a number of avenues for getting that done. And so we'll just give the reminder that late pledges are definitely still welcome. Revised pledges are also still very welcome. If you're doing some house cleaning and happen to find some money in your sofa cushions, etc. Okay, so talking about wrapping up the pledge drive here, we are planning to do a wrap party in 2 weeks from today, and that's just going to be kind of informal, but we are planning to have some special music and to do some sort of baked good or ice cream after worship. Speaking in my own voice here as we wrap things up, not really speaking for the committee, but hopefully this is okay. To my mind, we do want to be thinking about, if we're trying to hire a minister and put our best face forward, when that minister comes to meet us and learn about our church, we do want to be thinking about presenting ourselves in a positive light, or as positive as good as we can. So to my mind, that includes showing that we have a good, giving and fundraising profile, and that we have, a healthy number of active givers. Okay. So that's in the back of my mind here a little bit. And then finally, talking about presenting ourselves in a positive light and highlighting our accomplishments. We have put in today's order of service as well, that's in your hands. A rundown of things that the church accomplished this year. What you have there is, I'll emphasize, a snapshot and a summary. It's not everything. And I wanted to highlight that we have a very strong and healthy number of really committed folks here. And in the last year, we really have done not just a lot, but a lot, right? Again, from the hands of, 20, 30, 40 really committed people. So we've really accomplished a lot in the last 12 months. So that's all I have. The last thing is I'm going to pass things over to Carol, who is going to be our final testimonial speaker in support of this year's pledge drive.
Good morning. Good morning to all those friends who are gathered here and those who are joining us at home. We have some lovely, devoted people at home also, and I want to acknowledge them. I got to get my papers together here. Okay. My name is Carol. I was born and raised in New Orleans. And 2 weeks ago, I spoke about what I believe. And I mentioned that there were many things in my young life that just didn't make sense to me, and especially the religious beliefs that I was being taught. And I grew up Protestant for until I was 8 years old, and then my parents changed religions to the Church of Christ. The Church of Christ is a non-denominational fundamentalist religion, and that's a story for another time. That's quite a story, and some of you may be familiar. As Deborah had mentioned last week, that she too could not believe that an all-loving, merciful God could condemn a wonderful, loving family to hell for all eternity. This family was a lifelong neighbor to myself and my family, and they were an inspiration to me growing up. And that was it for me. I could not and would not believe that. When I was 22 years old, I moved to Los Angeles. This was the beginning of my spiritual journey. During that 9.5 years, I was introduced and involved in a variety of different spiritual practices and religions, including Judaism, Islam, and Buddhism. Now back in New Orleans for 18.5 years, I wasn't involved in any religious group until I was introduced to Community Church, this church. My interest was sparked after having read these two little cards that are in the foyer. And I picked up these two little cards and it was like, that makes sense to me. And I went to 6 consecutive services. And on January 19th of 2003, I joined the membership here because, thank you. Thank you. And these values and principles, hey, Nicholas, were in alignment with my own. And now back on the subject of beliefs. I believe it is only fair to support and give to those who support us. Words by Melissa Alvarez, an author of the book Believe and Receive. It's a natural law of the universe which states, as I give, I will receive, be it today, tomorrow, or sometime in the future. And because of all my Bible training, the Bible always plays a part, especially the New Testament and words of Jesus. And in the New Testament, 2 Corinthians 9, verses 6 and 7, this is from the Bible, of course, so this is not my words. He which soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly, and he which soweth bountifully shall also reap bountifully. Every man according as he is purposeth in his heart. So let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loveth a cheerful giver. Yes. And lastly, in the words of Maya Angelou, an American poet and civil rights activist, yes. When we give cheerfully and accept gratefully, everyone is blessed. And in closing, why I give to CCUU? I stand here. I had something here, excuse me. Where is it? Oh, thank you. I put it there on purpose, but you didn't know. That's okay. I stand here today with our beloved Avis Moore. And for those of you who don't know Avis, she was a beloved long-term member of this church and the most generous supporter. She helped us purchase the annex next door, and she was very generous in all of her annual pledges. And I stand with her, and as she said, I want this church to thrive long after I have departed this lifetime. Thank you. Okay. And Nicholas, I acknowledged you because you and I had so much in common 2 weeks ago when we did our talk about what I believe. Thank you.
Perhaps you know that this weekend, today and Monday are Indigenous Peoples Day, and so it seems an appropriate time to read our land acknowledgement. If you would like to, you can join me. It's on the back of your order of service. We acknowledge and pay tribute to the original inhabitants of this land. The city of New Orleans is a continuation of an indigenous trade hub on the Mississippi River, known for thousands of years as Wabancha. Tribes that have lived on this land include the Caddo, Chipmunk, Puma, Tunica, Biloxi, Atak, Ishak, among others. We recognize that a result of broken treaties and involuntary removals, Native Americans were often forced from their lands. We remember and pay respect to the communities impacted by these actions. Native peoples have lived on this land since time immemorial, and the resilient voices of Native Americans remain an inseparable part of our local culture.
With gratitude and honor, we acknowledge the indigenous nations that have lived and continue to thrive here.
You know, I wonder if there's anyone that would like to identify as Native American this morning. I'm sure we probably have some folks that have some bloodlines. Oh, wonderful, Cynthia. Happy Indigenous Peoples Day. Let us turn to our call to worship from Jacqueline. Finally, she gets to speak.
Well, it's a pleasure and a privilege to be with you today, and it's always a pleasure whenever I get to see my longtime friend Jacqueline. We've gotten to know each other even better this past year, even though we knew each other in seminary. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, let me know. So anyway, thank you. I have come to worship here a couple of times, including a couple of months ago, and when Reverend Jacqueline was preaching, and I'm going to refer to her sermon because we're a little bit of a tag team, in that we were talking about her sermon, and then I shared one that I did recently in Lafayette. And so they're related, and I'm going to keep it a little bit of a surprise. But let's begin with our opening words. They're by the wonderful UU luminary minister, Jack Mendelson. Here in this sanctuary of ancient dreams and wisdom and beauty, we come to grow, to be healed, to stretch mind and heart, to be challenged, renewed, to be helped in our own continuing struggles for meaning and for love, to help build a world with more justice in it and mercy, to be counted among the hopers and doers. In the face of cynicism, darkness, brutality around us and within, we seek to align ourselves with a living community that would affirm rather than despair, that would think and act rather than adjust and succumb. Here we invite the spirit of our own humanity and our healing powers under, around, through, and beyond it to give us the nerve and the grace, the toughness and sensitivity to search out the truth that frees and the life that maketh all things new. Welcome.
If you notice in our order of service, we have the words that we sing for a chalice lighting. So at this time, would you join me as we sing, "We Light This Flame"?
Light this flame to offer glory of truth and knowledge, and the hope of life and unity, and the fire of hope and commitment.
At this time, we have our time for all ages, and Julien is going to lead us in that. Does this bother you? You can move.
No, it's fine. So I see that there are those young at heart here this morning, but no little ones. So I'm still going to, there is a little one. Oh, hi. She's waving to me. Okay, good. I'm glad to know that you're there. That helps me. But I am going to a little bit abbreviate the story only with a sensitivity to time, and I want to encourage you in your pledge drive and how important that is, and also in doing the credos we believe. Those are both really important parts of community life. So this is a story that is actually a Hindu story that came from the ancient text called the Upanishads. And it was made contemporary by a UU, Mary Ann Moore, in her book of children's stories called Hide and Seek with God. And this is God is in each of us. So it's about a story of a boy whose name was Svetaketu. And his father was sending him to church school in India. And he was saying, I don't feel like I'm learning very much. And so his father replied by saying, go bring me a fig from that large tree over there. And so Svetaketu went and he grabbed a fig and he brought it to his father. His father said, cut it in two. What do you see in the fig? Asked the father. And he replied, all these tiny seeds. Then his father said, cut one of those tiny seeds in two. And Svetaketu was able to do that. And his father said, well, what do you see now? And he answered, nothing at all. Then his father said, my son, I want you to know that even though you can't see it, there is an unseen power in that seed. This power can grow such a seed into a great tree, and it's the same power that's in the whole world. That power is God. That power is spirit, and God's spirit power is in you too. When Svetaketu heard those words, he felt both very small and very big to think that such a wonderful power could also be in him. And so he asked to learn more. And it began a series of conversations between father and son to remind both of them that that spirit power is in every one of us, including this room and back in that little room back there. Svetaketu.
Let us sing the children out. Thank you. Go now in peace. May the Spirit of God surround you. Everywhere you may go. I just have to say real quickly that Sean has given me a lot more credit than I deserve on this. I am co-chairs of the worship committee with Jim O'Neill, and I couldn't do it without him. We do it together. And there was one other place that I've already lost track of where it is, but I do that with someone too. I try really hard to have co-chairs on lots of things. So if you see my name, you know someone else is helping. This is a wonderful reading from Sam Kain. Some of you may know him. The proper name for the experience of unknowing is not mysticism, but wisdom. When Socrates was told that the Oracle of Delphi said he was the wisest man in Greece, he replied that it could only mean he knew what he did not know. Wisdom comes from the certain knowledge of our ignorance, and it teaches us that we dwell within a small circle of light surrounded by an immense mystery. According to tradition, the owl, the symbol of Athena, the goddess of wisdom, spreads its wings only with the arrival of dusk. Wisdom is the paradoxical art of seeing. Sam Kain. This is our sacred time of joys and sorrows, If you are online, you may write your joys and sorrows in the comment section or to be read aloud. Those of you that are here may write on one of the cards the greeters are getting ready to pass out. And they will be read from the pulpit after we sing our hymn, during which you may remain seated as you write on your card your personal joy and sorrow. We will sing number 1008. That's in the teal hymnal, 1008, when our heart is in a holy place. We have a joy. Can you try to help me with that?
I'm going to do it another way because I feel technologically challenged. Do you mind if I do this instead?
Yeah, okay.
Is that okay?
Let's have to just get somebody else to do it.
I think.
Thank you. Okay. The joy, gratitude for the daily angels, butterflies, and lovely spirits my mama and brothers send me every day. Oprah said, "What happens to you happens for you." Is that right? Yeah. We're happy to have such a lovely joy. Jim O'Neill wrote a joy that my brother Dan O'Neill is with us today. Wonderful, Dan. Great. My name is Bruce. I am happy to be here. Welcome, Bruce. I'm Sean. I was out to see Esther this morning. Lovely. She says hello to everybody. Thank you, Sean, for doing that. We miss Esther. A sorrow that Alan and Marilyn Malone have COVID. They hope to be with us next week. A sorrow that Al's sister is still suffering. From Lizzie, joy, excited to see RE back every week. Yee-hoo. Excited about our upcoming trunk or treat. That's going to be fun. I've never done that before, but I shall. Hope you join us. My joys are that I have a 99% in Western civics and a religious community where I'm accepted. Yay! My sorrows are that I failed my Spanish test and that violence is an issue in the world. I'm taking not in Spanish class, I hope. Also, if you hear me coughing, I'm not sick, it's allergies. Abigail. We're always so thrilled to see you, Abigail. If there are no others, we will light another candle for those joys that have not been shared. But perhaps they will during coffee time, and those sorrows that are still too tender to share at this time. One more, I'm sorry. Thank you. You're all loved members of this congregation. Okay, I'm going to do that.
Actually, I'm going to do that one.
Okay. Here's your sheet.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we did a little bit of a change from the order of service, and I'm actually going to do the reading before the sermon. And so one of my rituals in the pulpit, which I am not in the pulpit very much anymore, is to invite everyone here and at home to finish arriving at this time, this place, this gathered community, to settle in, to enjoying the sacred space that we make when we're together. The reading is by Andrew Pacula, and it's called We Arrive Together. We arrive together here, travelers on life's journey, seekers of meaning, of love, of healing, justice, and truth. The journey is long, and joy and woe both accompany us at every step. None is born that does not die. None feels pleasure that does not also feel pain. The tear has not yet dried on the cheek, but the lips curve sweetly still in a smile. Numerous are our origins, our paths, and our destinations, and yet happily, our ways have joined together here today. Spirit of life, source of love, may our joining be a blessing. May it bring comfort to those of us who are in pain. May it bring hope to those who despair, peace to those who tremble in fear, and may it bring wisdom and guidance for our journeys. And though this joining may be just for a moment of time, the moment is all we can ever be certain of. So may we embrace this and every instant of our lives. Yeah. My water wine. We live in chaotic times, no? Isn't it hard to keep up with everything going on around us, to take it all in, to make sense of it? But not only that, we all have days when we are aware of a swirling mess of thoughts and feelings inside of us. What are we to make of all this chaos? We may try to find a little comfort from all this mess. If I were to say, life has always been this way. But I'm not going to say that. No, my friends, even though in many ways our lives have been made much easier with an array of modern conveniences, at least for those of us who were lucky enough to have been born in a prosperous country, the reason I say there is more chaos now than in previous times has to do with one of those modern conveniences: communication technology. From cell phones to satellite TV and the World Wide Web, even when we are not plugged into our devices, we still experience the effects of being bombarded with more information about what's going on in the world today than at any previous time in history. No wonder we feel stressed. How much can a person take? Well, the good news is, fortunately, we can take a lot. Maybe even more than we often realize, because no matter how tech phobic we can be at times, like me, that's why I use the candle, we can still count on our human capacity of resilience to adapt. So what could this mean? It means, well, we get used to things that are overwhelming with a little time and effort, and we don't just get used to them. Most of the time, we figure out how to adjust to them in a way that can actually benefit us. Isn't it amazing? This process is going on all the time, even when we're not aware of it. Some people like to call it evolution. Yes, the organic response on the part of all living things to change and grow and adapt to chaos. There have been so many times in my own life when I felt overwhelmed by the chaos around and within me, especially as a young person in a difficult family situation, and then later as a single parent. Times when no matter how hard I tried or what mess I was trying to handle, I just couldn't seem to get out of it. After a while, I realized all I could do in these situations, having tried all I could think of to do, was to surrender in a way and just keep myself open to the possibility that it would get sorted out somehow. All this chaos. You could call it the universalist in me. And you know what? It usually did get sorted out. Not only that, sometimes I was actually amazed by how some solution or resolution presented itself that I'd never have even thought of myself. Kind of like every once in a while, an event comes together in just a way, even if you didn't, without planning it, even if you'd had time to plan it, sometimes things come out better. I love it when that happens. So after a few times like this, when I felt like I was at the end of my rope and fully exasperated by some tumult in my life, I decided, okay, I'm just gonna try to relax and see what happens. I began to trust what I came to call a greater wisdom at work in my life. Now, I bet some of you non-theists out there are thinking, That kind of smacks of supernatural or fanciful thinking. It's just not rational. Meanwhile, those of us who might have some theistic leanings now and then are going, well, yeah. So whether or not you want to attribute a positive outcome from a big hot mess to a divine entity or not, I discovered it happens. Positive outcomes from sheer chaos does indeed happen, not just in my life, but in the world in which we live. Disclaimer here, it doesn't happen every time. That's because there is always much more possible, much more potential than you and I can even imagine. The very nature of life is that there is always something new happening all the time, so the possibilities are virtually endless. It was through my own life struggles and my eventual realization that things could actually get worked out in ways much better than I could have imagined that led me to discover process theology before I'd ever heard of it. It was not until I had the incredible and frankly unlikely opportunity to go to seminary that I heard about process theology. And you know what I said? It sounds familiar somehow. One of the basic tenets of process theology is that all of life is constantly changing, and all this change or chaos that's going on isn't simply a repetition of the past, like that movie Groundhog Day with Bill Murray. Quite the contrary, there is always something new emerging. How can this be? Because the possibilities are virtually endless. The past never fully determines the future because the future has not been determined. And there is always something new happening, and it's kind of hard to wrap our heads around it. Mind-blowing, actually. Just thinking about how not one single snowflake is alike. Added to that equation, not any living or non-living thing, for that matter, is totally alike either, even if it's meant to be mass-produced. That's a whole lot of possibility going on all around us, all the time. And one of the reasons why I say life is amazing. So I get to seminary and I start hearing about this thing called process theology. And I see there is a course that's going to be offered. I'd like to take it, but I'm thinking to myself, I'm worried. I heard that the guy who invented it, so to speak, was really hard to read. I don't mean a little hard to read, like pretty much everything I had to read in seminary classes. No, this guy, Alfred North Whitehead, a British mathematician, was supposed to be really, really, really hard to read. So I was hesitating. I was definitely interested, but I didn't want to take on too much academically. I was still working part-time and a single parent while going to seminary. So I decided to meet with the seminary president, Rebecca Parker, to ask her advice, given all that I had on my plate at the time, because she happens to know a lot about process theology. She said, first, it really helps to have a translator when you're trying to read Whitehead. And second, she had personally found that studying process theology had given her tools for thinking about her own life and life in general. So I went for it. Yes, indeed, Whitehead is hard to read, partly because he created a whole terminology of his own just to try to talk about what he was thinking. Here's a little background on Alfred North Whitehead. As I said before, he was a British mathematician who later became known as a philosopher. He was born in 1861 and spent the last portion of his life in Cambridge, Massachusetts. The process philosophy he developed has found application to many disciplines, education, physics, biology, economics, psychology, and ecology. The metaphysical system that he named process philosophy departed radically from all the Western philosophy before it and challenged some of the foundational notions of Western philosophy and Christianity. Rather than saying the world is made of material objects and that philosophy and what we call the divine are made of eternal and unchanging truths or essential qualities, Whitehead said all of reality consists of processes, constantly changing organisms, which are defined not in and of themselves, but by their relationships to everything else. What we UUs like to call the interdependent web of life. Instead of the classic, I think, therefore I am, Whitehead said something like, I am you, you are me, and we are change. Process philosophy sees all life in a constantly changing state of becoming. In the 1920s, there were some distinguished theologians at the University of Chicago Divinity School, including Unitarian ones, who were trying to wrap their heads around Whitehead's writings, which to this day are still considered perhaps the most difficult read in Western philosophy. One theologian said in response to Whitehead's book, Religion in the Making, which was published in 1929, this is his quote, "It is infuriating, and I must say embarrassing as well, to read page after page of relatively familiar words without understanding a single sentence." But the frustrations that these theologians felt did not dampen their interest in Whitehead's work. So they invited the only expert on Whitehead's work in the United States to come and offer them a lecture in Chicago. It was a previous Presbyterian minister who became a Unitarian, and his name was Henry Nelson Wieman. And he developed what is known as natural religion or religious naturalism, and that's what Reverend Jacqueline spoke to on August 11th. Well, over the time that he was introduced to these theologians, they invited him to join the faculty where he served for 20 years. When Whitehead came out with the book still considered his major work called Process and Reality in 1929, the Unitarian Wieman wrote in a review, "Not many people will read Whitehead's recent book in this generation. Not many will read it in any generation, but its influence will radiate through concentric circles of popularization until the common man and woman will think and work in the light of it, not knowing whence the light came." And so it has been. Even though there are ambitious readers still trying to engage his writings, there is now a much broader awareness of a fundamental interdependence connecting us with the universe and of a universe in constant change. Constant change. Kind of an oxymoron, like jumbo shrimp or military intelligence. No offense to anyone. But the moral of the story is whenever you find yourself swirling in the middle of a chaotic mess around you, or within you, or both, don't forget, you can't fall out of the universe. The universe is part of you, and you are part of the universe. Solving the mess of chaos isn't entirely up to you, nor is it completely out of your hands. The universe is affected by you and the choices you make. You are affected by the universe in this amazing web of life in countless ways known and unknown to you. No matter how bad it gets, You can be comforted in the knowledge that possibilities for a positive outcome from chaos are virtually endless. We're surrounded by an unlimited quantity of potential each and every day. Miracles happen. Whether you consider them to be events of grace or simply hugely unlikely, unexpected events, they happen around us all the time. May we trust in a greater wisdom inherent to life itself and remain open to the amazing opportunities that lie in the middle of every chaotic mess we may find ourselves in. Let's hope it's so.
Thank you, Julien. Appreciate it very much. This morning, as Michelle is going to give us a few words about our offering, and as you well know, Community Church Unitarian Universalist is a self-sustaining congregation, and it's your generosity, as you know, from all the words that have been spoken earlier today, that support the sacred work of bringing justice, spirituality, and compassion to our community. If you're online, you can text, you can give online, or you can text, or in person this morning, you'll have an opportunity to put something in the offering plate. And so we'll let Michelle speak, and then we're going to sing hymn number 12.
Good morning. So today's the second Sunday of the month, so it's our tradition to take up a collection for a nonprofit group chosen by the Community Justice Ministry. And today's collection will be for Second Harvest Food Bank of Southeast Louisiana. You all are familiar with Second Harvest, I'm sure, but I'm going to read this from their website. 1 in 5 households in Louisiana is at risk of hunger. Now, when I was looking this up yesterday on their website, somewhere else on the website, where this says 1 in 5 households is at risk of hunger, there was a place where it said 1 in 4 children is at risk for going to bed without dinner tonight in Louisiana. Think about that, 1 in 4 children in Louisiana. Across our state and region, the rising cost of food, housing, and utilities, coupled with high unemployment and low-wage jobs, have increased the need for emergency food assistance. Many families are asking for help for the first time. When bills loom and impossible decisions must be made, grocery lists are often cut first. Meals are skipped. Parents go without to make sure their children are fed. Second Harvest Food Bank leads the fight against hunger in South Louisiana by providing food access, advocacy, education, and disaster response. Second Harvest provides food and support to 700 plus community partners and programs across 23 parishes. Our staff and volunteers distribute the equivalent of more than 32 million meals to 210,000 plus people a year. So we will take up our collection for Second Harvest Food Bank.
Julien has our benediction.
Yes, I do.
These are words by Reverend Samuel Trumbore. Go forth in simplicity. Find and walk the path that leads to compassion and wisdom, that leads to happiness, peace, and ease. Welcome the stranger and open your heart to a world in need of healing. Be courageous before the forces of hate. Hold and embody a vision of the common good that serves the needs of all people, and go in peace.
And as we go, we can sing hymn number 1018, Come and Go With Me. Please stand as you are comfortable, and we're going to try asking you to remain standing for the chalice extinguishing, so we're not up and down, up and down. Amen. We extinguish this chalice here, that it might glow gently in our hearts. May it light your path as you leave this place. May it guide your way until we are together again. That's our chapel. You may want to tell Julian why you read this.
Like your spirit being. I get it.